Many philosophers and scientists throughout the ages agree about one universal constant, the key that connects everyone and everything, from the microscopic to the massive, is sound and vibration.
Nada Brahma is a term from the East, and it means the universe is sound, or the sound of Brahma, the all-creator, within which we live and move and have our being.
There's a harmonic relationship ringing of all the spheres in space, from the very small to the very big. So think of all the protons ringing and all the electrons ringing and all the planets ringing and all the solar systems ringing, all the stars ringing, right, in a galaxy. And then the galaxies ringing in a supercluster. When we get to the universe, you can imagine we're many octaves past the proton, many. So clearly, we live in the music of the spheres.
The music of the spheres is a really interesting concept that supposedly the ancient mystics, such as Pythagoras and even Kepler, the astronomer, were said to have understood, that they were able to hear the sounds of the planets.
The mystics interpreted this musical composition as a mathematical masterpiece.
If you continually double frequencies, you can move from dense physical matter, which you could strike with a hammer and get resonance like Pythagoras did with the anvil. And you could then extrapolate. Doubling that frequency, I'm going to get this sound. I'm going to get that sound. I'm going to get that sound. Oh, I'm no longer getting sound. At this point, I'm getting ultrasound. And then it's going to move into infrasound. And then it's going to move into something where you can see it instead of hear it. The law of octaves is simply doubling the frequency.
Now, whether or not we can hear this sound is different, because our hearing ranges from around 16 of these vibrations, these cycles per second, to around 16,000. But our friends in the ocean, the dolphins, can hear upwards of 180,000 cycles a second and project frequencies at that level.
What we perceive depends on the pitch.
If we want to study the high-pitched sounds of bats or whales, or the low-pitched sounds of planets in the solar system, in order to do that, we can either raise or lower that sound by octaves. In other words, this is a doubling of the sound. And then you can hear it with your physical ears. In the study of whale sounds, to lower them an octave, you can then actually hear them and have an experience of them, whereas before you wouldn't hear them at all. The whales hear them, but we wouldn't hear them.
They are able to communicate and probably instill great information with sounds that we can't hear. So just because you can't hear it doesn't mean that there isn't a sound being created. And that includes the music of the spheres.
In recent years, NASA engineers recognized solar winds striking the ionosphere, creating vibrations that can be modified to be within the range of human hearing.
Scientists think, well, there's no sound in space because it's a vacuum. Well, then how come there's human range vibrations in space in every single planet? Why is that there? So NASA says, well, we don't know the answer to this question, so let's send Voyager through that ion field and record it and see what we get.
If you go on the NASA site, you can actually download the soundtrack of the sound of our sun. The sound of our planets like Jupiter. And Saturn.
You put headphones on and you hear sort of an electronic wind with these breathy choirs of voices coming in and out from Miranda. Or the moon of Jupiter, Io, sounds like crickets and dolphins and birds. Wind. It's like, oh my God. And it has this effect on you.
Physics allows us to better understand this cosmic soundtrack.
All these things are giving you a sense, and certainly that was the sense that Kepler got, that there's a harmonic relationship ringing of all the spheres in space. The structure of space is not only oscillating, but it is circulating. It has movement. It produces angular momentum. Think of it as a fluid that's circulating. There's circulation outward, and there's inward circulation.
If we listen closely, we can discover how these waves of sounds across the spectrum create recognizable patterns.
Human voices, when you speed them up enough, they sound like birds. You speed them up, they sound like crickets. You speed them up, they sound like dolphins. You slow crickets down, they sound like birds. You slow birds down, they sound like dolphins. You slow dolphin down, they sound like people singing. It's like fractal reflections of the hologram of the universe that reflect boundless into the galaxies and the universe as a whole with patterns that are reflected in my brain networks, that are reflected in the quantum field.
How is it that we interpret or give meaning to these fractal reflections?
The holographic principle, as described in current black hole theory, says that information is encoded holographically on the surface of the black hole. Everything you see is the result, or everything you experience, including your own body, is the result of this holographic nature of space itself. How you experience the world, how you feed information back to the world, is by actually interacting in this holographic nature of reality. You are feeding information on surfaces across the universe, and The universe is feeding you back information in terms of your local experience through this holographic nature.
The Hermetic principle, as above, so below, is another way to express this holographic reality.